Hi, this is Irving Steele, your host of Local Issues, and today we are excited to welcome back an old guest, an old friend here, hailing from the area in Waterford and East Lyme, and so lucky to have the Reverend Jean-Fritz here with us today. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Irvin. Thank you for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Of course, it's good to see you again. And recently in the news, there's been a lot of talk about different things. Here it's September. I think we're 47, 48 days until the elections in America. And so everyone's trying to get into the news and trying to do whatever they can to be on the front page of the newspaper and the front page of CBS and all these things. And you and I were talking just how people do some interesting, strange things these days.
Absolutely. We talk about like a sort of silly season, so people are
season.
Exactly, people are trying to fight to get the biggest headline. So then and some people are saying stuff that they're not supposed to say.
Yes, and it's tough sometimes. Right before we came onto the show here today, we were saying, is it good for us to kind of talk about these different things of the silly things that people are saying and bring more light to them? Or is it better just to kind of push it under the rug and not even discuss it? What do you think is a better strategy for this?
Well, it depends. It depends because sometimes you have to address some issues because it's important, especially if in the backdrop of those silly issues, you have very serious issues, life and death issues, the joy and the life and the welfare of a lot of people. So it's important for us to address a lot of issues, especially we're talking about, for example, the U.S. presidential election. So we're talking about the highest office in the world. So this, regardless of who's going to win the election, so it is going to have a big impact on the larger society and the entire world. So it is important for us to talk about those issues, issues related to character, issues related to the economy and other stuff. It's important for us to do that.
Definitely. I 200% agree with you that for us to have the leader of the strongest country in the world currently, someone up there who has high level of integrity, respect for different people, different cultures, different languages, and an understanding of this, I think is really important because as a society, one way or another, we look to this person and we follow them one way or another because they're leading us as a country. They lead our military, as you say, they lead our economy, and they kind of champion our culture into the next phase of who we are as a country.
Exactly. And I used to be a consultant, a business consultant in the past. So one thing consultants used to do, like when they go somewhere, is what they call appreciative inquiry, or even asset mapping. So some executives do that as well. So it's like, okay, let's say I'm not a consultant, let's say I'm a new director or a new CEO of a company or some type of executive at the company. One thing I want to do is go and check what's going on. An appreciative inquiry means that you show people that you appreciate the history, the story of the company, the history behind the company, the hard work that people have done, the type of people that have been behind that organization. So in a sense, a president of a country should do a sort of appreciative inquiry and appreciate the society. Like the United States is a unique type of project. So you have to be able to appreciate that, to appreciate the fact that you have so many people coming together to build like a very successful nation. So if you don't appreciate this, as an executive myself, as somebody who has some experience as an executive, so you have to appreciate what you're doing. And you have to appreciate the people you will be serving, because if you don't appreciate them, if you don't love them, it's hard for you to serve them very well. So and this goes for everybody. So as a minister, I keep telling people, one of my first obligations is to love the people of the congregation unconditionally. Regardless of what they do, regardless of what they say, I have to love them unconditionally. I think that's the same thing for a president. So regardless of who people are, you have to love them unconditionally. And I think if you do that, it's easier for you to serve them. If you love them, it's easier for you to serve them. It's easier for you to suffer with them when they suffer. And when we understand people's suffering, we empathize. And we empathize, it's easier for you to find the right solutions for the problems.
Definitely. And it's a great point you say that in order to lead, in order to serve, you need to love these people and understand them through this love. And I'm curious what you think are some actionable ways that whether you as leading the church or a president running or leading the country, how are they able to kind of demonstrate and show this love to the people?
So you have to be in communication with the people. I know it's hard to do so because, somebody who's an executive, a president, or somebody who leads a large corporation with 250,000 people, it's hard for you to meet with people personally, but we have to find ways to communicate with people. There is something we call supportive communication. In communication, it's like when you communicate, you have to show people that, hey, I support you, I understand you, I feel your pain as your leader, because you're the leader. You're a leader among leaders, so you have to understand that. You have to be also mindful that you don't know everything. You don't know everything, so you have to ask questions. You have to ask the proper questions. You
have to be interested to find out.
You have to be interested to find out. You have to do the work, because one thing I learned as I've been a leader for some time, as a former dean, as a director of operations, as a director of human resources, as a minister, as somebody who sat in a university council. So it's like, as a leader, you have to try to understand people. You have to try to understand. One of the things I keep telling people, I remember at some point I took over a nonprofit, and some folks came to me, sat with me and say, hey, we want to understand you as our new leader. And because we feel like if we understand you, we're going to be successful together. And I told them, okay, it's fine, but I believe that it is my duty to understand you first, because I'm serving all of you. And there are 300 of you and stuff like that. So it is, for me, my duty to understand you, to understand what you like, to understand what you don't like, to understand your emotions. And that goes beyond data. I'm a numbers person, but you have to understand the emotional map of your organization. So what makes people happy? What makes people cry? If you understand that, you can build on that, and then to reach your goals for the organization.
One of my favorite quotes is from Stephen Covey's book. Maybe you read it, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says, we need to seek first to understand. And as a leader, just as you said, if we're able to kind of take that first step, maybe I don't know so much about you or your family or maybe your culture, the food that you eat or the music that you like or places you like to travel or have traveled. But if I kind of want to find out and I ask these questions and I spend the time, and spending the time I think is really imperative that we demonstrate that level of respect.
Yes.
That maybe I don't know everything, just as you said.
Yes.
But I can find out more about you and your family and your culture.
Do the work.
Do the work.
Because you have to do it. And I've told people, one of the reasons sometimes I used to sleep 4 or 5 hours, because I'm trying to do the work. I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to learn the numbers, to learn about the numbers. I'm trying to learn about the people, because that's more important than the numbers, as we know. So you have to do the work. When we talk about asset mapping, it's like if you start leading an organization, or if you, even as an employee, even if you're not an executive, you have to understand the organization. You have to understand the type of assets the organization has, the type of resources the organization has, how those resources have been leveraged in the past, so you understand what's going on. If you don't understand what's going on, if you don't do the work, if you don't feel connected to the people, if it should not be about you, it should be about the people. So I know that somebody says in order to do more, you have to be more, meaning that if you're a leader, you have to be willing to educate yourself. You have to be willing to spend time, to go to seminaries, get other skills to be able to serve the people. In order to do more, you have to be more. But more importantly, you have to know people. You have to understand people. You have to connect with them. If you don't connect with people, if you don't understand their suffering, it's hard for you to fully and effectively serve them.
Definitely. And one thing about our country, the unique thing is that We, of course, have lots of Native Americans here in the region. We have Mohegans and Mashantuckets who have been here for ages, as well as people coming to this country from all over the world, over 180 countries and hundreds of languages and religions and cultures, all kind of coming to this country, starting with the initial 13 colonies that have formed from 1776 this incredible country that we have today. And so I think you mentioning the resources we have, it's these resources of different languages, different mindsets, the most talented people from around the world risking potentially everything to come into this country to demonstrate what they have and what they're able to provide to the country.
Yes.
And I think one thing recently in the news I've been hearing about too is when you hear about different communities and different cultures that maybe you know someone. And so recently in the news I've been hearing about different people talking about immigrants and different people talking about people from Haiti. And of course I think of you, you know, you're a friend of mine, you're a leader here in the community, and I hear people saying these disrespectful things about Haitians. And it makes me want to kind of find out more, both from you and also from your community, that it's a sizable community here in America. About how many Haitians are there in America right now?
So I think, according to numbers, we have about 750,000 to 800,000 Haitians in America.
Almost 1 million Haitians.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a lot of people, and Haitians are pretty much everywhere. So if you think about Haitians or your bus drivers, they are at your local grocery store. So they are your they are involved. They are your CNA. You know, they are involved in all sorts of activities in the U.S. They are in all circles, in all walks of life. So Haitians are U.S. representatives. So the White House spokesman, the current White House spokesman, she's from Haiti. She's a Haitian American. Haitians are former president of Harvard University. The first black professor in the United States was a Haitian American.
Oh, is that right?
Exactly. Charles Reason was a Haitian American, the first black professor here. So you have Haitians all over the place, the automotive designers, executives. Also, they are in the agricultural sector. They are pretty much everywhere. So like every community, we have all sorts of people. The Haitian community has all sorts of people. But everyone, I believe, wants the same thing. We want to better our life. We want to be better. We want to have a better life for our family. We want to take care of our kids. We're thinking about the next generation. What can we do for the next generation? We want, at the next generation, I want my kids to be better off. I want my kids to be better than I am today. So that's why all of us are working so hard. So we are bound by this common denominator, which is, hey, we want to better our lives and we want to better the lives of our community.
So as a whole, it seems like the Haitian community is relatively involved in the communities that they live and work in. Is that kind of a true statement that you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And they are pretty much everywhere. Like, so here in London, so we're having more and more because there is a new program called the parole program that the administration came up with last year, and I think about 100,000 Haitian travel from Haiti to come to the U.S. to work. So that is, and that's why you're seeing so much more Haitians around. But all they want to do, like everyone, is, hey, let's work, let's go to school, let's do something for our community, let's buy a new home, let's launch a business. As you know, about 25% of new businesses in the United States are immigrant businesses, and about 25% of Fortune 500 are created by immigrants or children of immigrants in this country as well. So people want to have the same thing. So Haitians are not different, so they want to have the same thing as well.
And I'm curious your thoughts. Of course, we can't generalize everyone, but as a whole, do you feel the Haitian community is relatively active in voting, in political engagement. You mentioned there is a member of Congress from Haiti and the first professor at a university. Would you say as a whole they become kind of active in community politics and voting?
They are more and more active.
More and more active.
Yeah, in voting in community politics. So roughly, if we're talking about immigrants in general, roughly the United States has between 40 to 45 million immigrants. Half of them are naturalized citizens. You have a lot of Haitians. Some of them were born here, some of them are naturalized citizens. So those people vote like everyone else. They vote like everyone else. They're interested in politics. They run for Congress. They run for. So we have one Haitian who was a lieutenant governor in a state. I think it's North Carolina. So we have mayors, Haitians. We have mayors. So we have all sorts of people. They are involved. So and like every community, we have all sorts of people. So meaning that you have people who are more interested in, school, people who are more interested in work, or more interested in the church and stuff like that. You have all sorts of people. It's a rainbow type of people. So like, as I like to say, that it's the type of food that we eat might not be the same, in a sense that if you take a Haitian and a Chinese and see what type of food they eat at home, they might not be the same, but we ultimately we want the same thing.
Definitely, and just as you alluded to and pointed out a second ago, that there's a huge amount of immigrants and Haitians who come to this country and they start companies, they create jobs, they add to the GDP, they add to the stock market, they add to the Fortune 500 companies, and I think that's one of the unique resources that America has, is that we're able to kind of pull these different people. I mean, you've done a lot of consultant work and work in innovation and things along these lines. One of the greatest elements of innovation is the ability to view the same problem from different perspectives. And if you eat different food, and if you maybe speak different languages and come up from different upbringings, different cultures, it provides you that platform that you can view the same issue. Maybe I view it like this, but maybe you can view it at a completely different angle. But maybe we view it the same. Exactly. But it's the opportunity to have varied input.
Exactly, and those conversations create, let's say, wonders and miracles. Because you have people from all walks of life on the table telling you, hey, this is the way I see it, this is the way I see it. So that's one of the reasons that I think diversity is so important nowadays. I know diversity tends to be nowadays, like in some circles, like a bad word. But one of the reasons, like when I was an HR director, like very recently at a nonprofit here in Connecticut, so I was an HR director, and diversity was not about hiring people who are less qualified. Never, because if you do that, you can get sued. It's about hiring the most qualified people. But if you can find people from all walks of life, it means it's the type of discussions you have change a little bit, and more things might come from that type of discussion. So it's important to note that. And one thing I wanted to mention as well is it's important to make a difference between facts and fiction. As an example, I've heard like people say, hey, immigrants are coming to use our resources and stuff. Like immigrants bring more to America than America gives them. So immigrants are givers. They are takers in the sense that all of us are takers because we need roads, we need schools and stuff like that. But immigrants, like in 2021, as an example, immigrants paid about $550 billion in taxes. So that's a lot of money. Even the so-called undocumented or illegal immigrants, they paid that same year about $30 billion in taxes. So understand, we're talking about people who cannot even work. You cannot even work in this country, but they are still paying taxes because they have a dream that one day we're gonna be part of this country. One day we're gonna be recognized and accepted, widely accepted by everyone. So it's very important to understand the difference between facts and fiction. The reality is that immigrants bring a lot of stuff to this country. This country gives them a lot, but immigrants also bring a lot to this country.
Definitely, and the focus on fact versus fiction is really important now. That it's easy. You can say anything, and then very quickly it's all across different news outlets and people are talking about it. But I think at the end of the day, just as we started off the conversation, having a leader out there who speaks the truth and follows through on integrity of what they're saying, it seems to me that whether that permeates down to churches or schools or organizations, it's a really important thing. And I'm curious kind of your thoughts recently that some of these discussions of things going on in Springfield, and what causes someone just to completely throw out fact or complete fiction like that?
Yeah, it's interesting because even if you think about it, even the vice presidential candidate Vance, who became some sort of megaphone for that thing, so he went back to the media and said, if I have to create a story to draw attention to a broken immigration system, I'm gonna do it. But the thing is that I tell people, creating a story might be harmful to people. Yeah, if you wanna draw attention to the immigration system, you can go to the border, for example. You go to the border and then you draw attention to the immigration system. But creating a story like that, and you will know afterwards that schools had to be closed because there were bomb threats in Springfield. So that's frustrating. That's frustrating. What you want people to do is to build people up. I think that is our job as leaders, to build people up and not tear people down. So, and you want people to do their job. So, in my view, and I think most Americans would agree with me, so in my view is elections are about issues. So issues that matter for the entire country. And for America, issues that matters for the entire world. Issues that matter for the entire world, because this is the most powerful country in the world. So you want people to be very serious about having those discussions. Okay, if you're talking about healthcare, what are you gonna do to improve healthcare as a whole? If we're talking about job, what type of job are you gonna create? What type of industries are you gonna you're gonna leverage? What type of innovation are you gonna bring to the economy? What are you gonna do for the 40 million poor people we have in this country? In some account, people we might even say that we have about 80 million poor people in this country, in the richest country in the world. That's why I keep telling people, as a pastor, the way I assess a country is not through how well the top 1% or 2% or whatever you can say your elite is doing, is what are you doing for the poorest among us, the least, the lonely among us. I'm talking about the poor people. Maybe your grandfather, your grandmother who is in a nursing home. What are we doing to make their life better in a nursing home? What are we doing to improve the life of, let's say, somebody who doesn't have a job right now, somebody who is a victim of the opioid crisis? That's how I judge a country as a minister. And then what you do, you build on that, and you build people up, you improve people's life. I don't understand, because I've had 7 different lives. I did brand management in the past, and I know in marketing, there's something we call point of difference, POD. Point of similarities and point of difference. You have to show how different you are from people in marketing. So if you have a product, I have a product. You have a service, I have a service. I have to show how different I am from you. So I don't understand politicians are trying to show the points of difference, but you never do it at the expense of people, especially the weakest people among you. If you say something about, let's say, a rich multi-billionaire guy, nothing will happen because that person is already powerful. But if you're saying stuff about people who are extremely weak, they don't have that's what the Bible, in the prophetic tradition, the prophets of the Bible really, really focus on a number of people: the widows, the foreigners, and children, because they know some of those people are the weakest people in Israel. So they want their country, society as a whole, to think about the weakest people in the community. That's how I think we should judge somebody. Issues. What are the issues? What are the issues that matter for the country as a whole? And who are we trying to help? Who are we trying to help? Are we trying to help people who, for example, cannot go to work because they cannot afford to put their kids in daycare. So are we trying to help those? If we ask those questions, if we try to answer those questions, I think it's a good thing.
Definitely, I agree 200% that going and trying to cut down the most vulnerable, the most needy people, that's kind of the bottom rung, the foundation of our society and the people that we need to lift up and rise up more than anybody. And I really feel like, just as you said, leaders are really, we rise as leaders by lifting others up who maybe need our help, maybe need our expertise, need our support, people that are maybe disabled or people unemployed, seniors, elderly, the sick, the homeless. As you said, 80 million people, potentially 1 out of 4, 25% of our country are maybe working poor or poor people. These are the people that we need more than anything to tap into their knowledge, tap into their resources, and allow them to be contributing members of our society. They can add value, then they can pay taxes and contribute more and more. But if we just try and cut them down, it's just a lose-lose for our entire country.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to be mindful of that. And we have to be mindful that everybody contributes to this economy. Like immigrants, as an example, in 2021, immigrants created 8 million jobs in America.
8 million jobs.
8 million jobs. 8 million people are working thanks to companies that immigrants create, businesses that immigrants created. So it's very important to know that. It's not that they are better or worse than the larger population. It means that we have to recognize everybody's contribution. If you do it, if you build people up, think about having a kid, for example. I have little kids. If you keep telling your kids, oh, you're bad, what's going to happen?
Yeah, you become what you tell them about.
Exactly. And they lose their self-confidence. So you have to build people. I really, really, truly, fully believe that as a minister, this is our mandate, to build people up in our society and see exactly what binds us together, and then build on that to create a better society.
And just as you said, too, that so much of who we are as people, regardless if we were born in America, we immigrated to America, we have very common, similar goals and aspirations to love our family, to take care of our family, to respect one another, to have food on our table, to have a roof over our head. These are kind of the basic, the Maslow hierarchy of needs that allows us to perform and be a part of society, regardless of our background.
Exactly. I truly believe that. It doesn't mean that everybody is perfect. No community is perfect. So you have like people who are less than perfect, who are trying to do the right thing, but we have to be mindful of that. One thing I want to say about Haiti as well, it's important for me to say that Haiti is a very, it's an unknown, or it's a misunderstood country. Haitians like to say that, for example, that because Haiti was the second country to become independent in the Americas, right after the United States. So Haitians would tell you, hey, we are the creator of true freedom in the world, because we are the first country that says everybody is free. Because the definition of freedom in America meant at that time that some slaves are not free. If you go to Europe, that was the same thing. But Haiti is the first country in the world, the first head of state in Haiti declared after the Declaration of Independence, everybody who set foot to Haiti, regardless of their color, regardless of who they are free and free at last. And Haitian will tell you, every other freedom comes from that. Because you could not have vacation if you're slaves. You know what I mean? Slaves are not free. You could not have unions if slaves were not free and stuff like that. So every other freedom of speech, for example, if you have slaves in a society, some people do not have freedom of speech. So the idea of universal freedom, Haitians would tell you, hey, we created that idea of a universal freedom. In a sense, Haiti is a project that has not been realized, but what Haiti has brought to the world is very, very important.
And you continue to bring more important things here to our country in America. So thank you for sharing some knowledge. I learned a lot about Haiti and the culture from you today, and just what we need to do as people to better respect and trust one another to build a better future for America. So thanks for being a guest today.
Thank you, Irvin. Appreciate it.